Good afternoon after a long, great day. Very good. All right, awesome. Good to hear you. Good afternoon, Congressman Wilson, Congressman Waltz. So great to have you here today. And distinguished members of the India Caucus, colleagues, friends, thank you for having me here today to share my perspective on U.S.-India partnerships. So I'm really proud to join you here today and share a little bit about what that means to me, because it really means a lot. A little over 5 decades ago, my father came to our country with $220 in his pocket. And 160 of that went to his tuition. And like most of you know, the rest goes to filling the fridge. After completing graduate school, he and my mother settled in Minnesota, pursued a career with the Department of Agriculture, but the going was tough and opportunities were scarce. Eventually, he decided to put his 2 kids in a car. I was one of them. And he and his wife, my mother, drove to Washington, D.C. After dropping us off at the Lincoln Memorial, he walked right up the steps of the Capitol and met with a senator by the name of Hubert Humphrey, looking for a shot at the American dream. Senator Humphrey leaned in, which turned into a 25-year career as a federal inspector at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Eventually, my parents helped establish a small temple right in the heart of Minneapolis. And in his charter was a commitment to build understanding of Indian culture in the Minneapolis community. Now, anybody here from Minnesota? Nobody here from Minnesota? We got some kind of. Well, in addition, let me give you a little lesson here. All right.
You are from
all Floridians. Okay, that's good news. That's good news. But in addition to being known as a land of 10,000 lakes, in the winter we got a lot of what? Snow, you're right, lots of it. So what did the Hindu Society of Minnesota Youth Club do? What we do? That's right, we head to the ski slopes. Now, 60 Indian Americans piling onto the side of a mountain and then ending up in a chalet, breaking out all kinds of tiffins of food while other kids are munching on burgers is quite a sight. But you see, that's where the magic of our democracies happens. That's where all the conversations occur and the friendships begin. What is aloo gobi? Can I try some of that fancy bread you got there? You know, the Minnesota accent. You know, you should try some of those thin slit gloves, you know, because your son just got done rolling down the hill. You see, it's events like that in which we learn that democracies are not about what divides us. Democracies are about what unites us. Democracies are not red and blue. They're about neighbors. They're about Minnesota wild rice, aloo gobi, and of course, walleye curry, made together. Straight from Mille Lacs, the home of Paul Bunyan. And yes, it tastes as good as it sounds. 10 years later, I learned the same thing in the chapel at the Air Force Academy. On the flight deck, as a pilot in hostile skies, and in numerous foreign lands. It's a fact. Neighbors meet challenges together. As you know, we are in an inflection point in our history, in which great power competition permeates the geostrategic landscape. Our Secretary, Honorable Frank Kendall, has laid out priorities for the Department of the Air Force in 3 words: China, China, China. Now, if my grandfather were alive today, having fought in the 1962 border war, he would have seen Secretary's 3 Chinas and raised him another and another, because the enduring partnership between India and the U.S. is vital to challenges our democracies face, and even more crucial to preventing competition from becoming crisis. During his most recent visit to India, Secretary Kendall emphasized India's status as a vital strategic partner to the U.S. and stressed the Department of the Air Force commitment to deepening defense and security cooperation. Together, we must aim to elevate and expand our technology and our partnerships and defense industrial cooperation between our two countries. This includes space cooperation, training, exercises like COPE India, and more personnel exchanges that build upon our existing partnership. But it's not all about the example of our power. It's also about the power of our example. That sets us apart as two democracies committed to the common good. Together, we can take the lead on transnational challenges like extreme weather events and natural disasters, and partner on solutions that leave a better world for future generations. After all, it's what democracies do. It's what neighbors do. So I'll conclude with just one final thought. 2 weeks ago, my father had a chance to return to the Pentagon. 5 decades after taking that trip and dropping us off at the Capitol. He witnessed my oath. And as we walked up the steps, I asked him to turn around and take a good look. My dad gazed across that sprawling DC landscape from the Pentagon. And in the distance, you could see our Capitol, the Lincoln Memorial, the exact same places he brought us when we were little. As his eyes welled up with emotion, it was easy to see why. The same American dream he had lived all his life and believed in with all his heart came through for him once again, this time for his son. Thank you. Thank you for having me here today, and may God continue to bless our troops.